Hi, this is Jim from Vaudevisuals. I'm here with Johnny Melville, who's based in Barcelona, who started in Edinburgh, but then went to London to find out some interesting things about some performer teachers, etc. There. So let's start again from 1971. I apologize for the
Okay.
technical glitch.
Well, I arrived in London, and within a few days, I was lucky to get a job with the most important group at the time, actually, in theatre. That was called Freehold Theatre. And I ended up being road manager and company manager on the road, which was basically driving and paying the group and dealing with the problems which arise, between actors and so on. And then by the end of the tour, I was already actually playing with the group. We did a Three Sisters in David Auken's house, and David Auken was the husband of Nancy Meckler, a New York director who ran Freehold, and she's become very famous in England over the years. And David Auken ran Channel 4 later in life as well. Anyway, after that tour, I was at Oval House, and Oval House was the leading kind of avant-garde situation for any kind of fringe theatre. And it wasn't even called fringe, actually, then in London. It was just experimental theatre, and all kinds of people were there. And Peter Oliver, who became well known with Pip Simmons' group as an actor after he left, he was about 60 when he showed me around the theatre. And there was this American guy with long hair and looking very sharp, teaching about 24 beautiful American girls who were on some kind of summer schedule how to wiggle their ears. And I watched this guy for about 10 minutes. I couldn't believe what he was getting away with. And I could see in his eyes there was more to his plans than just teaching these girls, which is one of the kind of things I have about clowns. We're all pretty kind of testosterone, you could say. Or at least they were in those days. We were.
Right. I agree. I agree.
And and so Peter said to me, "Oh, this is Jango Edwards. He has a group here called Friends Roadshow." And I'd started a group. Well, actually, a long story. I'd taken over a group that an Italian mime had left, and so I was also running a clown group in London at the time called Selecta Balloon Band, and we became very good over the 3 years. We were everywhere, and we'd often get the same gig as Friends Roadshow. So Friends Roadshow would be on the other side of this, maybe a school playground or a street or whatever, and we'd be on this side, and they'd look at us and go, "And that's the British guys," and we look at them and go, "And that's the American hippie group." So eventually, I kind of met Django because I saw he was doing shows in Oval House quite regularly. So and I wasn't really into doing that kind of gala stuff. Everyone did an act and lots of clowny stuff and the kind of stuff that Django was doing, and plus the band, of course, which was something different. So I got to know them all, and gradually I started doing shows also at Oval House, and so there was, a mixed thing. And then about 2 years after that, Django left. He went to Amsterdam, and that was a major move. And I realized it was a major move when he did it. I thought there's something in that, that I should try and find out what it was. My group then started to perform occasionally in Holland at different festivals. And then the Festival of Fools began in 74. And, sorry, 75. In 74, I got to the Holland Festival with my Selecta Balloon Band group. And that was the first real time I played in Amsterdam. Unfortunately, one of my musician, Dave de Vries, who's really fantastic symphonist nowadays in Granada,
Hmm.
he panicked a little when I gave him a firebrand that was burning, and he dropped it on the new floor of the Milky Way,
Oh,
the,
geez.
the famous club in Amsterdam. And
Yes,
it
and
was their new floor, and the guy upstairs, the boss, Core, was watching, and it was just like, Oh no. Anyway, to cut a long story short, we didn't get an invite to the Festival of Fools in 1975. And about 30 years later, I said to Core one day, "Was that because we dropped the firebrand?" And he said, "Oh yes."
Was the Festival of
So I
Fools
knew it was.
primarily done at the Milkweg at that time? Or was it?
It was in the Milkweg, the Paradiso, and the Shafi Theatre.
Gotcha, gotcha.
3 different theatres,
Nice.
and also the one in the Vondelpark, which was called the Vondellucht
Right.
um,
I love Amsterdam.
theatre.
I love that. I love
Yeah,
that city.
yeah. Well, it's changed,
It's
of course,
changed.
like everybody everywhere else does. But um, it was fantastic then because it was raw, and anything went.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean, it was perfect for Fools.
Yeah.
So there were all kinds of theatre groups, crazy Dutch people that I still don't quite understood a lot of the stuff they did. You know, at least we were doing clown. I could relate. But some of the stuff we were doing, some of the stuff they were doing was like, wow, this is so far out. I really don't know. And the Dutch loved it. So, so it worked.
Yeah.
I mean, from all levels. And then the Festival of Fools then was really, in a way, a focus, because it was a time where all these weird people could actually meet together and not get busted by the police or, by the parents or whoever was, authoritarian enough to kind of stop anything.
Right.
And it became a regular, a delight, actually.
Yeah. Every year, right? I mean,
it was every year until 77, and then it became till 78, and then it became every 2 years.
Okay.
So it was 78, 80, 82, 84.
Gotcha.
And the last one was 84.
Mm.
And then there was another 2 in 95 and 96, which were like reunion, kind of kick. I think it was 20 years. Yeah, 95, it was 20 years. It was a 20 years birthday.
Right.
So there was a special day. But then 96 was even better. It was a bigger event.
Mm.
And then we had a Festival of Fools last year here in Barcelona, which Jango, I'm glad to say, was around for. And he didn't perform much, but he sang most nights,
Nice.
at least.
Nice.
And appeared, in his kind of glow of charisma that he had.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was actually a big thing for Jango, that he could actually manage to have another Festival of Fools, especially here.
Yeah. And that was tied in with his school in Barcelona, right?
Yeah.
Which I tried to make on numerous occasions. I tried to get over there on a couple of different occasions. Never made it over there, but there was a guy who lives in California now who made it over there a couple of times and photographed Django's school. Bernard.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I thought he was from New York.
Bernard. Yeah, he was originally from New York, but now he's in California. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you must know Angela Delpini. She's
sure.
One of my favorites.
I mean, I was doing a lot of workshops at the same time. Sometimes for NCI, and sometimes just for another situation or myself. And so most of the people who were at Django's workshop also came to mine at some point.
Nice.
Sometimes for 2 or 3 sessions, sometimes for 1 or whatever. Okay. And last year we co-directed the festival. So it was the first time I actually took on that responsibility, which was not easy in the heat. And also Django was sick. So that was also not easy, also for many reasons, but anyway, that was how it went.
Do you have any plans on doing any more Festival Fools going forward?
I'm not sure, because the problem was that I didn't get paid, and there's a few people didn't get paid for last year.
Right.
I would have done the whole thing for free probably, but if somebody says you'll get paid and this is what you'll get paid, so on and so on, it's only right.
I've heard that from John Townsend as well.
Yeah, and I don't really know what the story was. I know Jango was very annoyed with the 2 people that were representing the administrative side here. I don't know. I just don't know.
Yeah, right.
I heard there might be some money coming in. I'm more upset about Moshe Cohen. You know Moshe
No.
Cohen?
Oh, I know. Yeah, I
He
think I met him. Yeah.
he's head of the American Clans Without
Yeah,
Borders.
Clowns. Yes, yes. I met
Yeah,
him a couple of times. Yeah, in New York
and
here.
I said to Moshe, "Don't worry, just pay your own flight. We'll pay you all. And Moshe still hasn't got paid either. So
Oh, gee.
I decided that if I don't hear by the end of this year something, I'll pay Moshe myself
Mm,
because he was also really really good in the class.
nice.
So it's just it's not fair. It's really some people got paid, some people didn't. So,
Oh,
so it
okay.
was not very. Um, but yeah, that was really how I got into the Fools thing. I got into because I was really ready to do experimental theater. That was my main thing, or movies, and as a director, and I got into the last six people for the British Film School, the National Film School,
Yeah.
in I don't know 71 or 72, I can't remember, and they took four. So I failed at the last hurdle. But instead of going the next year and saying now I know how to do it, I just said, oh, they don't want me, so I'll just do my own thing. Which was really looking back, I'm going, why did I do that?
uh,
But
when you were
anyway,
back in the UK and or in Edinburgh, did you ever come across a playwright, radical political figure, Heathcote Williams?
Heathcote. I worked with Heathcote.
Oh, no kidding. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
He
Um,
was terrific.
I was when after the Freehold tour finished, I was asked to join this summer school of radical theatre at the Oval House, and that was a month with some really fantastic people, either doing guest teaching or guest performances, and it was a course of 4 weeks and I think most of the people on it are now or have been professionals. Some are, of course, died since then, but a whole bunch of people were involved
Mm.
on that course. And there was a lady called Pam Brighton who uh, died about 10 years ago. She was a director from Yorkshire, and she set up a group to do called V Theatre. And the play we did was Heathcote's AC/DC.
Oh my God, no kidding.
Yeah,
I
and
know that.
so
I
I
know. I
was.
photographed that play in New York when they produced it in New York, and
Oh yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Well, Heathcote was he was sort of on the tour a little bit. I wasn't acting in it. I was doing all the company stuff.
Hmm.
I was doing sound, lights, and and it was a hair raising tour. I mean, so many things. Oh, you can't imagine. Actually, I think I mention it in my book, which I'll talk about soon. Um, uh, Nigel Terry, this actor who played in Excalibur, he was in it, and there's some top actors were actually performing.
It was a very
But it
very
was
crazy and wonderful play. I mean, I love that play.
it became AC/DC for real
Yeah,
on
yeah.
the tour. It was so stressed. I can't tell you the problems we had, and I was driving this single decker London bus as well, which in the end the police the last night coming back from Brighton on the tour, one of the actors was trying to basically strangle one of the actresses. And everybody was either drunk, stoned, or flying, on something, except me because I was driving. And the police stopped me because the bus was falling apart. And
Mm.
I said, "This is the last time I'm driving this." And the police said that to me too. And then they went in there, and it was just like bedlam going on. The girl was hiding behind all the set, and anyway, and the guy said to me, the sergeant said, "There's about six cops, and it was freezing. It was like fog in the British winter, really horrible." And he said to me, "Take care of the animal in the back, and when you get home, put the bus away." And I said, "Went, yes, sir. I know, sir." And he was so impressed that I wasn't high or drunk, because everybody was completely out of their minds.
My gosh.
Anything on that last day, just everyone was so happy to stop the tour.
What year was
It
that?
was 74.
74. Oh wow, wow.
Yeah. just before I started Selecta Balloon Band,
Right,
and
right.
that was actually one of the main reasons I decided I'm not going to work with any more groups. I'm going to do my own thing, and that was actually part of that reason.
Right.
Crazy.
One of the things that you have mentioned in your bio is that you perform for many, many different kinds of audiences, and one of them that you mentioned was African Bushmen, and it sort of fascinated me. I wanted to hear a little bit about what that was all about.
In 1984, I decided to, with my Swedish girlfriend, to go into a drumming course, African dance and drumming. And I did that after a festival in Vienna, which was called Third World Dance. And I was one of four white guys and 27 guys from everywhere else that was not Caucasian. Um, and one of the guys there was African master drummer called Mustafa Teti Yadi. And this guy he was a shaman as well as a witch doctor and a master drummer. I mean, he was extraordinary, this
Mm.
guy. And he had this very brazen German wife, bright red hair and, beautiful, buxom looking lady. And he was very proud of her, of course, in Africa. And it was his school. And
Right.
then he said
Oh.
to me, because oh yes, we all did shows, and on the last night I blew them away because I'm quite kind of quiet. I don't really necessarily jump around like Django did, unless I was with Django, and then I would do it. But generally, I used to have quite a low kind of profile. I'd be quite just watching people, enjoying what I do, and they all came up to me afterwards and went, "Fuck, man, you're fucking amazing. You're great. You're such a cool guy. I mean, we thought I said, okay, no, I don't care what you thought. Anyway, thanks for the compliment. So then I said, okay, I'll come to the school. And when we were there, Mustafa said, I want to go out with you and this German guy who was one of his old students, and just entertain. We'll just go to, if you feel like doing it, we'll go out. And so I said, sure, I'd love to. And I got this character as the pretty typical colonial gentleman from Britain, who's got absolutely zero contact with any natural thing about Africa. But I had a mosquito net, and I thought, okay, I'm going to be an idiot caught up in this mosquito net. And when the first village we went to, there was like 300 people just, everywhere.
Wow.
And they were all like watching this thing, and Mustafa was there, and they all knew Mustafa because, he was famous anyway. And the German guy was playing a kind of shaman in a kind of African outfit. And he was quite tanned, but he didn't look African at all. He looked German, he with blonde hair. And so they're watching me doing this bizarre kind of guy stuck in a mosquito net, and I just went for it. It was like complete slapstick clowning, but in a mosquito net.
Nice.
I watched the kids going from this kind of looking at each other, what do we laugh at this? What the fuck, and they started doing this. And then they were falling around, and it was just, and then the adults were, Africans laugh, it's the thing that is amazing in Africa. And Mustafa was, because when they drum to the dance, So if a girl is dancing with certain move or certain, they'll feel it, and it becomes a kind of marriage of drum and dance. That's the magic of the African dancing. And so Mustafa had never worked with a mime or a mime kind of character like me, but he felt it immediately. He could see what to do, where to push, where to make
nice.
Soft rhythms, fast, hard stuff, and I just followed it.
Nice.
It was wonderful.
That's nice.
And then what the nice thing was, we had it worked out that the shaman guy, the German guy, I think his name was Albert. I'm not too sure, but I think it was Albert. He magicked me into first of all a chimpanzee, and then a chicken, and then some kind of maybe a stork or something. I can't remember. And the drumming as well. It just went up and up and up and up. Nice. And I mean, I lost kilos because it was 40 degrees, at night. It was just I was just covered in sweat, you know, and with big mosquitoes, malaria mosquitoes
Oh
everywhere.
my
Of course.
God. Oh my God.
But that was the African bushman.
Wow. Stop. I mean, you have a whole list of other people, Russian spies, German riot
That was in
police,
Berlin. That was in
Japanese businessmen. I
that was
mean,
in an art gallery in Berlin.
that's awesome.
In
That's awesome.
Ferdinand Léger, the painter, French painter, who's celebrated in the East. He was in the Eastern Bloc at the time. It was
Mm,
Berlin. You know, the wall was there. And the Kunsthalle Gallery asked me to do some theater animations with the paintings.
oh, nice.
And so it was like a 20-minute piece, and it was all visual, with some Edith Piaf singing as well with an accordion, because it was all in that time, you know.
Right.
And the people were there from the, you know, the Staatsbüro, the East Berlin, which, you know, the old Nazis who were now the new communists.
Right. Right.
So those are the spies.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So getting back to your book. What tell us about your book?
Well, this book was the dream child of Michael Evans. Michael Evans was the technician of the Great Salt Lake Mime Troupe, who you probably heard of. Katie Duck and Rick Perritz and Matthew Child. They were all part of that particular group, and they were the first group really with Jango at the Fools Festival in '75. And so when I got to the next festival in '76 with Selecta Balloon Band, then I met, I think I met them already actually in London before, but to actually be able to sit and talk to them and hang out with them. And I didn't really know Michael very well, but I remember him being there, and I remember his pictures from the time. And one of the stars of that group was Giorgio, a clown, American clown from Minnesota, I think originally, and he was in Freiburg for many years, and he unfortunately died in a terrible accident with a train, 2005, I think it was.
Mm,
And I'd worked with George just before that in a kind of dinner cabaret in Freiburg, which he often did. So I wrote a blog article saying that George had passed away, and then I got a message from Michael Evans because he didn't hear about it, and he wrote to me and said, "Oh, this is terrible. Did you know George? Did you work with him?" And then gradually we kind of kept in touch and stuff like that. Then he wrote a book, which I have somewhere. It was a kind of paperback version of the Amsterdam Fools in connection to his group, into the Salt Lake Mime Troupe,
mm.
which was about a 50-page piece. And he had some success with it, actually. I don't know where it is, somewhere there. But and then he said to me, "Yeah, I'm going to write a hardback version of that." And I said, "Oh, great. Well, if you need help, or script editing, just let me know, because I'll be willing to hang out and try and help you if you get stuck or whatever." And then suddenly he said to me one day, "Johnny, would you like to co-write it?" And I was like, "Wow, I don't know." This is like, So I thought about it, and then I thought, okay, I can probably bring stuff in which he probably didn't know, because he hadn't gone back to Amsterdam since '77. To visit, yes, but not to perform during the festival time. And then COVID happened, and suddenly I found myself. My wife and I came back from Chile. She's Chilean, and then we kind of came off the plane, and some people were walking around with masks. And I read about this thing going on, and I thought, well, okay. So she decided that she wanted to go and see these friends of ours who have a residence, cultural residence, not far from here, about 3 hours away. And so she said, "Yeah, I'm going to do that." Okay, so I said, "Okay, I'll come on Monday." That was the Friday afternoon. And on the Saturday, I went down to visit Jango, because he used to live quite close to me. And as I was walking back, this police car stopped beside me and said, "What are you doing?" And I went, just walking around. And he said, have you noticed there's nobody else walking around? And I was like, oh, that's true. Why? And he said, go home now.
Wow.
And I was like, oh, what? So I didn't see my wife for about 2.5 months.
Oh my gosh.
And she was happy because she was in the country, so she had much more freedom. You know, it was like, why come back to Barcelona? So during that, I was thinking, well, if I'm going to be here and I'm locked in, I might as well get on with the book. And that's really where the whole, for me, it came about.
Right.
And I went deep into it, and I came up with a lot of ideas which Michael hadn't considered.
Nice.
You know, like influences and stories about certain kind of angles.
Mm.
I brought in the clown in service, which he hadn't, and he was very happy about it, which was Clowns Without Borders. Matt Mittler's group, Jetchi in New York. A couple of people here. And a few other people I knew who were working, you know, on certain things that I knew, and we had a of course, like everything, you know, the book can't be possibly complete. It's just not, you know,
never finished.
And after like 500 pages, you know, Michael said, we have a problem because, you know, you want to add a lot more stuff, and we just don't have the space. You know, the book, I think, is 650 pages.
Oh my gosh.
And so, you know, to print that book,
yeah,
it's a big problem for the printer, because I think we're working out a new way of doing it.
Wow.
You can see the binding there. You know,
encyclopedia. Yeah.
It is. It's exactly what it is.
Wow.
It has all the programs of the Festival of Fools.
Wow.
Like in mint condition.
Wow.
And tons of posters from other festivals and other you know, brochures and all kinds of stuff.
That's great.
Yeah, and we've had some really amazing critiques. I mean, I'm blown away by it. Actually.
Nice. Great reviews.
It's on Barnes and Noble in New York.
Oh.
On their webpage.
Oh, nice.
And we've got 2 5-star reviews up there.
Oh, wonderful.
And then a London site called unfinishedhistories.com, which is, you'd be very interested, actually. I would link up with them, because they have very interesting stuff, which is basically about that period that I wrote about in here, from the 70s to the 90s.
Right. A great period in theater history.
In the book, we go right up to today, actually, because I cover stuff up to today. Wow. Just to show the different avenues that people have followed. And South America, you know, it's become very important there too. A big clown revolution, really, because of all the military dictatorships, you know, in those 80s and 90s. And so there's been quite a huge explosion there of clown and comedy.
Yeah.
And then an American guy who lives here, actually, Adam Bermagov, he's called. He's a clown also.
I know Adam.
You know Adam.
Gershikov.
Gershikov.
Yeah, Adam. Yeah.
I always say it wrong.
Yeah, Adam's a close friend of mine. When he was living in New York, every time I would be at a show, photographing a show, he'd somehow be sitting next to me.
Yeah, I found that too here, actually.
Yeah. He's a great guy.
Anyway, he's got a blog. He wrote his blog also.
The Clownlink blog. Yeah.
And now Slava, I think, is going to write a critique about it.
Oh, great!
Because we sent a copy to Slava, and then Jango told me Jango was actually went to Slava's about 2.5 months ago. On a kind of crazy trip, you know, he wasn't well enough to do it, but he went there. And Slava had actually, in 10 days, Slava had completely rewritten the book in Russian. He'd had it all translated.
Oh my God!
So it's in Slava's, you know, the Moulin Jaune as part of his library,
Mm-hmm,
and
mm-hmm.
it's there in Russian. I was like, I can't believe it. How did he do
That's
that?
amazing. That's amazing.
But apparently he loved it too. He said it was one of the. It's just like a big hole has been filled, with this book.
That's
So
probably
I'm very happy with it, and Michael is also very happy now. I'm hoping he's got a new job in a library, Michael. I don't know. I haven't heard yes or no yet, so I don't know. But it's something to do with the library, and if he gets a job connected to libraries, then maybe we can sell it to libraries across America, because it's really it's a library book.
yeah,
It's
absolutely.
really a library book,
That's
or a coffee table book
it's a
if you're
reference,
well enough off.
reference book. It's definitely a reference book for.
Yeah,
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 definitely.
yeah, yeah.
Mm,
I don't know if he's talking about doing another version, maybe with a updated index, because the index is alphabetical, but it's in sections. So it's like years, the festival year 75.
mm,
So it's not a perfect index
right.
actually, but it's. I mean, indexes are really horrible to do.
Unbelievable. Terrible is right. No kidding.
I
That's...
found that out. It's my first book. Now I'm working on another one, which I found a designer for,
Oh,
which is a
nice.
poem, a long narrative poem.
Oh, cool. Oh, cool.
Yeah,
Poetic poem,
yeah,
not poem book. That's nice. Yeah. So Matt Midler. Was he at the Festival of Fools? Was he one of the people
yeah,
who? Oh, he
yeah.
did. Oh, yeah.
Actually, in the book, there's a picture of Matt and me and Peter Weir and Justin Case
Oh, yeah.
doing one of the late night
Oh,
improvisations,
nice,
which,
nice.
which was for me the high spot of the festival.
Yeah, the late night
Um,
shows are fun. Yeah, definitely.
yeah, yeah. But I knew Matt. I met Matt in London just after he'd been to Grotowski, and
Oh,
then he came and worked with the second group, Caboodle. In Italy, we did a couple of mental hospitals there
oh my
with
gosh.
the actors.
Yeah, he's
And
great.
in 2002, I actually worked with the group. I did the Devils, playing Satan. I don't know if you've heard of him. I played Satan in New York, which was probably the main reason I did it.
Good role for New York.
But yeah, no, but Matt has directed. He directed my. I did a one-man show called with a band called Dirty Money in 87, 87,
Wow,
86, 87. So he actually directed and wrote it with me,
nice.
um, which was very cool too. Yeah,
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 yeah.
I
He
know Matt.
doesn't. He
We go
doesn't
back a
live
long
far.
way.
He lives pretty close to me. He's right over here in the Park Slope
Yeah,
area.
I thought he must do, because he lives in Brooklyn. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
near the
yeah.
park. Yeah,
Yeah, we cross
yeah, I've
paths.
stayed there a few times.
We cross paths occasionally when he's performing or something.
Yeah,
Keep keeps
yeah.
us busy. Well, great. All right. Well, Johnny, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
And
Thanks for having me.
I'll put a link on the blog post where people can get your book, Barnes and Noble, and if
Yeah,
you
or on my webpage
on your
also is
webpage as
possible,
well. Okay,
because I have a page with some photos from the book there and some
terrific.
comments of the critiques,
Well, great. Thank you very
and
much.
I'll send you a link for Michael, because I think it's really good if Michael gets a chance to discuss from his side of because he comes from another side. He works as a journalist and an artist as well, and so he, although he was part of the Fools Festival doing technic stuff, there's a lot of stuff which he missed out on, which I updated him with, but he therefore comes on the other side. He's very big on the music business as well,
Oh,
and
nice.
we also bring music into the book. It's not just about clown.
Right.
It's also about the importance of music with the performer as
And
well.
the company that he was with originally, the Salt Lake Mime
Yeah,
Company, yeah, was that
yeah,
did they have a band or music involved in that group as
yeah,
well? Yeah, I thought so.
yeah. In fact,
I thought
that
so.
band became Available Jelly. If you've heard of them.
Jelly, yeah,
They're
available
still
to.
in Amsterdam.
Oh, no
Mike
kidding.
Moore and Greg Moore is not with the band, but Mike Moore, Mike Vatcher, a A couple of them played with Ray Charles' big band.
Wow.
I can't quite remember the name of the sax player who played. Yeah, I haven't seen them recently, but they're still in Amsterdam playing, and they play in the top jazz clubs.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's
So those
great.
guys are still around. Yeah.
That's
Sure.
amazing. Well, thank you very much. And
You're welcome, Jim.
I'll post this soon. And I'm going to close it out. I'm going to stop recording, but I'm going to chat for another minute or two afterwards.
Okay.
So I'll talk to you soon. Hold on.